Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you send us and, well, we dig in to find the most interesting bits.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for those aha moments, right? Quick understanding different angles, but without getting bogged down.
Exactly. Cutting through the noise.
So today, we're diving into the artist Bob Camblin. You've got two documents you shared. The Camblin retrospective, focusing just on 1958.
A specific slice of time.
And Bob Camblin quotes and other mysteries, which sounds intriguing.
It is. It gives us his voice, his thoughts.
Our mission here is to get a richer picture of Camblin the artist in a key year and the person behind the art.
Yeah, it's a great pairing. You get the timeline, the external stuff from 58, and then these reflections that maybe span years. It connects the outer journey with the inner world.
Okay, let's kick things off with 1958 then. What's fascinating right away is that while he's showing art, he's still working at TWA.
Yeah, that jumps out. It's that reality check for a lot of artists, isn't it? Balancing the passion with, paying the bills.
Absolutely. And he wasn't just dabbling. In January 58 alone, he's in two group shows.
Right.
One's the 153rd annual exhibition at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. That's prestigious.
Oh, definitely. Philly, and then it traveled to Detroit. And importantly, he's mentioned in the Fulbright Painters catalog for that.
Ah, okay. So that Fulbright connection starts early.
Seems like it. An early nod associating him with that program even before the big Fulbright show later in the year sets a foundation.
And at the same time, January 58, he's also an American art of our time up in Provincetown.
During the Arts Festival there, yeah.
There was a catalog, a brochure,
Hmm.
even a newspaper mention in the Daily Intelligencer. So he's busy, really putting the work out there.
He really is. Juggling the TWA job and these kinds of exhibitions, it shows a serious dedication. You wonder how he managed it all.
Makes you think about the drive, doesn't it?
It does. That commitment, maybe that necessity, too, to just keep pushing, keep showing while figuring out the practical side.
The things seem to shift in the summer of 58.
Big shift.
He gets a teaching job. School of Art, John and Mabel Ringling Museum of Art in Sarasota, Florida. And he moves.
Yeah, that's often a major turning point for an artist. Teaching can provide some stability, keeps you immersed in the art world.
And you're surrounded by art, by students, by ideas.
Exactly. It feeds back into your own practice. And the source mentions 5 more exhibitions that year, even with the move.
So the momentum continues. One of those later shows seems particularly key. The 10th Fulbright Painters Exhibition.
At the Whitney, in New York,
Uh,
September.
Yes. This really brings that Fulbright connection front and center.
Yeah.
And it helps to remember what these scholarships were about.
Right. Funded by selling off U.S. surplus property overseas after the war.
Yeah, and the idea was to let American artists spend a year painting abroad. Cultural exchange, basically.
And these shows, like the one at the Whitney, were a way to showcase what came out of that experience, what these artists absorbed and created.
There's a fantastic quote from Camblin in the article about that show, pulled from the catalog. He called his time in Italy, what was it? A painter's dream come true.
Love that.
Said he had nothing to do but soak up the scenery, visit the museums, and paint his head off.
You can just feel that freedom, can't you? That intense focus on just creating.
The article also mentioned the artists weren't really adopting foreign styles, more like feasting their eyes, as it said. And it quotes Camblin specifically about soaking in the golden glow of Rome.
So deep observation, deep engagement with the place itself, not just imitating techniques.
And this Whitney show seems to have made waves. Time magazine ran a piece called A Year Abroad, right around that.
October 58.
Yeah.
Yeah, likely referencing this exhibition. That's national exposure.
Big deal for the artists involved.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just New York. That exhibition got toured by the Smithsonian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Smithsonian Institution, working with the Institute of International Education, sent it to 20 places across the U.S. in 58 and 59.
So Camblin's work, tied to this prestigious program, was getting seen far and wide.
Exactly. Broad reach.
Let's go back to that Fulbright Painters catalog, though. Camblin's own reflection in there is, well, it's really something.
It's quite personal, isn't it?
Very. He talks about being this boy from the Midwest, from Ponca City, Oklahoma, suddenly dropped into this whole other universe.
Imagine that culture shock. Learning Italian, living in Rome.
And not just anywhere in Rome. An old apartment near where Julius Caesar was killed.
Incredible.
And apparently near the setting for Act 1 of Tosca. You can't make this stuff up.
The layers of history just
No.
right there.
He talks about feeding stray cats in the ruins, the Scavi, living near the Colosseum, the Forum, getting to know locals, Italian families.
So a real immersion, not just being a tourist.
Totally. visiting museums all over Europe, different cities, plus 3 months living in Venice.
Venice, too. Wow.
And he sums it all up. The results are these paintings.
Yeah.
He specifically mentions two works in the show, Reliquaries Number 2 and Cité del Mar, both from 1958.
It makes it so clear how foundational that year abroad was. It wasn't just the trip, it fundamentally shaped him and his art.
No doubt. And 1958 wasn't just about the Fulbright connection. There were other shows mentioned.
Right, that collector's market exhibit in Kansas City, at the Nelson Atkins.
And the Child Hassan Purchase Fund show in New York at the American Academy of Arts and Letters.
So his visibility was definitely growing across different venues, different parts of the country.
And one more listed for 58, RT USA 58, at Madison Square Garden of all places.
Organized by Lee Nordness. The source is a bit light on details for that one, like who else was in it, but Nordness was a significant figure.
Right, confirmed in his obituary later. But just its inclusion reinforces what a whirlwind year 58 was for Camblin professionally. Exhibitions, the move, the teaching job.
It really crystallizes as this pivotal moment, the Fulbright experience culminating, career doors opening. It sets the stage for everything after, you'd think, and probably fueled a lot of the thinking we see in the quotes.
Okay, perfect transition. Let's turn to that second source, Bob Camblin quotes and other mysteries. Let's hear his voice.
Yeah, let's get into his head a bit.
One that jumps out, thinking about his time in Rome and Venice, steeped in history, is, fortunately, some things remain forever, or another 10 years, perhaps.
There's a wryness there, isn't there? Acknowledging permanence, but also the fleeting nature of things. Maybe seeing ancient ruins makes you think that way?
Could be. Then there's this. Look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both.
I like that. It's sort of unifying, isn't it? Saying you can find truth or insight through science or through something more mystical or intuitive, and art and philosophy bridge both.
It suggests a very open mind. Not pitting science against magic, but seeing value in both ways of knowing.
Which feels very, well, very contemporary in some ways, but also timeless.
There's a longer one here that really stopped me. I will stick with common sense and try for the perfectly average view of the universe. Okay, interesting start.
Yeah, where's he going with this?
He goes on. I think that will let me enjoy miracles on both sides of science and magic and the nuances of the smear between the whiteness and the blackness.
Okay, so average isn't mediocre. It's about finding a balanced perspective.
Exactly, and hope that I can be around when the two meet in the near future and we have an intensely bright gray.
An intensely bright gray, that's a fantastic phrase. Embracing complexity, ambiguity, finding richness in the middle ground, not needing everything to be black or white.
Especially relevant maybe for an artist, navigating, the art market, teaching, personal vision, all those competing demands maybe he felt in 58.
Makes sense, finding that equilibrium.
Some are more enigmatic. The sixth sense is to be, without a doubt, senza dubio. No doubt.
So intuition as a form of certainty, that gut feeling being a kind of knowledge.
Perhaps related to making those big moves like taking the Florida job, trusting that instinct.
Could be. Artists often talk about relying on that non-rational sense in their work, too.
And this one feels quite poetic, maybe a bit melancholy. Bright day, and I soar. How cruel that my soul is attached to this earth and yet.
Oh, yeah. That pull between aspiration, freedom, the soaring, and the reality of being grounded, physical.
You could see that resonating during a busy year like 58, maybe feeling the career taking off, but still dealing with the day-to-day realities.
That tension is often where art comes from, isn't it?
Seems likely. Then we get closer to his artistic philosophy, maybe. The light is all you need. Simple start.
Elemental.
The end is to evolve by doing the best you can. The means is to amplify what you're doing and believe.
Okay, so focus on the essentials, light, commit to growth, evolve, and amplify your efforts with conviction, believe. Sounds like a pretty solid credo for an artist.
And one that clearly matches his output in 1958. He was definitely amplifying and believing. He also reflects on art's purpose changing for him. Art is not just images. Art for art's sake has become art for life's sake, or art for my sake, or art for survival's sake.
That's a significant evolution in thinking. From art being purely aesthetic to something deeply personal, even necessary for survival. Maybe the intensity of the Fulbright year pushed that shift?
Or just maturing as an artist and a person, seeing art's deeper role.
Right. Less detached, more existentially engaged.
I like these ones that seem to be about the creative process itself.
Yeah.
Step off the train of thought to find the power that is no power. to do the work that is not work, to laugh the true laugh. Bending is not bowing.
Lots of paradoxes there. Getting out of your own head, finding power in letting go, work feeling effortless. It
It
sounds almost Zen-like.
may be about finding that flow state. And bending is not bowing flexibility without submission.
Interesting. Could relate to navigating the art world, perhaps? Staying true to yourself while adapting.
And then, very directly, when you think, don't act. When you act, don't think.
Clear separation. Be fully present in whichever mode you're in, contemplation or action.
Good advice for juggling multiple things, like he was.
Definitely. Avoid getting paralyzed by overthinking when it's time to do, and avoid acting rashly when it's time to reflect.
Some quotes show this amazing sensory awareness. Listen to this. The cosmos waves as me with tree leaves. Sun-heated air moves across the electrons of my skin. Sunlight reflects those greens. First, white, then yellow-green, and in deep shadows, blue.
Wow. That's incredibly painterly language, isn't it? Deeply observant, feeling interconnected with everything.
You can imagine his time intensely looking at Italian landscapes and light feeding that sensibility.
For sure, that heightened observation.
And he has these tiny haiku-like observations too, like not a leaf moves and yet we all feel the cool breeze.
Capturing those subtle, almost imperceptible moments, finding significance there.
But it wasn't all certainty. There's vulnerability too. The painted eye sees more than mine, and god damn it, I see nothing yet.
Ah, yes, the artist's struggle. Feeling the artwork has a life or vision of its own that maybe surpasses his own immediate understanding. The yet is hopeful, though.
It shows that even in a year of successes like 1958, the internal striving, maybe the self-doubt, it's still there.
Part of the process. Keeps you searching.
And a philosophy for dealing with that, maybe. There are no mistakes. You are doing the best you can, and mistakes are nature's way of telling you to trust your instincts, or the next mistake could be really bad.
That's a great perspective. Reframing mistakes not as failures, but as feedback. Nudges from nature or your subconscious to trust yourself more.
Really useful for anyone creative or just living.
Awfully
Really.
stick.
Takes the pressure off perfection.
This one feels directly connected to his Rome experience. Being aware of history, we are in fact living in the past, present, and looking into the future.
Yes, standing amidst millennia of history probably makes that feeling unavoidable. That sense of time being layered, not just linear.
That deep time perspective.
And he also uses quotes from others that clearly resonated. Shinichi Suzuki. Art is not in some far-off place. A work of art is the expression of a man's whole personality, sensibility, and ability. Reinforcing that